Your Steve Jones Show podcast will start shortly. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Brewers Outlet, your beverage supermarket on Reagan Street in Sunbury. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
You seem disappointed that I only want to watch the game.
I just like everything about the Super Bowl, so it makes it fun.
Doesn't mean that the commercials aren't fun or whatever, but I sit there during the commercials saying, let's get back to the game. I mean, halftime? I haven't watched halftime in forever.
I don't know. I just like the whole atmosphere.
Oh, I don't blame anybody who loves the commercials. I think that's great. I think what's happened, though, over the years is that, the commercials were a big deal, because this is when new ads roll out. This is really the start of the ad year, and so that, this is the big splash. But what happened to the commercials along the way is the game got good. After being a lousy, after having a series of mediocre games where you needed something else to keep you interested, the game itself got really good. So that's why it got to the point where I couldn't wait to get back to the game, because the game got good. Right? Halftime? Oh, man, run out a marching band, get the thing done, 12 minutes, go back out there. You don't like that, do you?
Just give it I don't want to say give it a chance for this year, because I don't know how good this year is going to be, especially after hearing that CBS report. Going to be dumbed down a little bit. But try with the commercials.
I wasn't paying attention. All right, so our play-by-play call of the day. Today's show brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket, imports, domestics, microbrews, best selection of beer anywhere, wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks, lots and lots of snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and not every day in the pickle bar, led by the barrels of the dills, indeed second to none. Also 6 great flavors of slushies. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Iowa can score. Iowa can score a lot of points. The problem is they couldn't defend a CYO team. They give up a lot of points. Ohio State on the road gets it done.
Nunji with 4 threes and 14 points on the night. Each team has 4 players in double figures. Arms wide open again. His second in a row. Oh, man, it's like a video game for these guys.
Exactly. Dan Schulman, Jay Billis with a call on ESPN. That is how Iowa plays. Iowa scores a ton of points. Iowa gives up a ton of points. Ohio State won it 89-85. Back in the day, Friday morning, I would go in to do the pregame show with Joe. And the TV people were there because either he'd meet with the TV people first and then me, or I'd do the pregame show first and then the TV people go in. And so you get a chance to really sit down with everybody and talk before Joe was ready for whichever order it was going to be. And so I had a chance over the years to talk many times with Holly Rowe. And to be honest with you, you're not going to find a nicer person on the face of the earth. You don't like Holly Rowe. You don't like people. And she's going to be a part of the Pink Zone virtual brunch on Wednesday. Holly, welcome. It is so great to have you with us.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to talk to you. I listened to you for many, many years. Anytime I'm driving in the Midwest during football season on a Saturday. So I've heard your voice many times. Well,
thank you. I appreciate it. That's very kind of you. It doubles our ratings, by the way. Thank you. First of all, you unfortunately had to miss the college football playoffs. So how are you feeling?
I'm feeling better. I had a little bout with COVID, and I wish people would be more open about how yucky and really serious this stuff is. It was tough. It's taken me a full 3 weeks to kind of get back to normal a little bit, and still have some like stamina issues, like you get up and get going and you think you're fine and then it just hits you like a ton of bricks. So it's been really ugly. So I hope people can still stay safe, and I'm hoping that we get this vaccine rollout going so we can get back to normal.
Yeah, we need to get you one, okay? Got to get you one.
I know, for sure.
Absolutely, because obviously you've had to have the fight along the way. When they told you had cancer, what ran through your mind, and then how did the fighter of Holly Rowe come out?
It's so weird. I had a kind of weird journey where they told me I had cancer, and I didn't really panic initially. I cried a little bit, and I was like, wow, that's crazy. I never thought I'd go through that. But then I thought, it'll just be simple. It'll just be a surgery, and it won't be any issue. And what I didn't realize about cancer is you're not in charge, and it does what it wants inside of your body. And so I had quite a few metastasis and, additional surgeries, and then it eventually got into my lungs. So it was a really scary experience, and yet I kind of kept going and doing things that I loved, and I kept doing games and kept going to sporting events. And I think that still having a joy for life and really having an eye on the prize of life,
yes,
I think helped me a lot in my battle of like, what can I do that still brings me joy, and what am I still living for? And I think that helped a ton.
I wouldn't doubt that, because attitude, I think, means anything in what you're doing along the way. And you're passionate about what you do. And by the way, let's establish something right away, very quickly. I, for one, do believe that in 1984, BYU was the national champion in football. So let's at least establish that. I watched that game with Michigan in the Holiday Bowl that night. So they're one undefeated team in the country. It was your group. All right. So,
exactly. Yeah, I was a diehard BYU fan. It's so funny. When I was home during quarantine lockdown, I started cleaning out my garage. And I'm not even joking about this, Steve. You'll get a kick out of this. I found a box of, like, old yellow newspaper clippings that this 14-year-old girl had clipped out of the newspaper to save. And, 40 years later, I still have those BYU football clippings, so I thought it was pretty awesome.
Robbie Bosco. If I remember. Robbie Bosco.
Exactly.
Number 6. Okay. For you, something I've always found interesting, and I've talked to Todd Blackledge about this, is that you really immerse yourself before you do an assignment of watching a lot of video, or as we would say, tape. Which in what I do, obviously, is important to get ready for a Saturday. What drove you in that direction, that you wanted to make sure that you had as much information as the guys up in the booth?
I think number one is I started to learn pretty quickly that the tape doesn't lie. Like coaches can tell you, oh, this kid's not very good, or this kid's not hurt, and then you watch the tape and you think, oh, no, that kid's definitely limping, and they're not going to be able to use him Saturday because of X, Y, Z. And so I learned very quickly that the tape doesn't lie. And the other person who really got me watching tape a lot was Matt Millen. I worked with Matt as one of my analysts, and he and I would spend Thursdays, and we would sit in a room on a campus when we'd get to town and probably watch tape for 4 or 5 hours, and it would just be me and him in a room. And one of my favorite stories about that is Matt and I are in this room at Oklahoma State, and we are watching the left tackle of Oklahoma State, and he's going to be a high draft pick and a really high-rated kid, and he is getting beat around the edge over and over and over by this sophomore kid from Texas A&M. And so I start Googling, and I ask Matt, I'm like, well, who's this kid that he can't control on the edge? And it turned out it was Von Miller as a sophomore at Texas A&M. So I feel like Matt Millen and me were on the Von Miller train before most people in America. And that left tackle was Russell Okung who's gone on to be a terrific pro. Yeah. And he just couldn't handle Von. So, like, little fun stories like that of we can see special things early by picking it up on the tape of these young players.
So what does that then, now let's translate it to the sideline, because I think that's an incredibly tough job because the windows are so narrow to do what you need to do. So how does that help you to help translate those short windows into being productive ones?
Yeah, I think that the more data you cram into your brain, right? So like I go into a game and I've read all this information, I've watched all this tape, but I never actually know what I'm going to use because so much of my job is on the fly and like, oh, I see da-da-da-da, like how can I quickly relay this to the audience? And so I feel like I just have to have a lot of information that I can pull on quickly, and I never know what it's going to be before the game. We really these days have very few pre-planned hits anymore. I think back in the day we used to do that like, oh, I want to get this story in or this story. Right. Well, now with social media, so many of those stories are already out there. It's how can I react to what I'm seeing in front of me, and how can I further some of those stories?
And that I know in teaching a broadcasting class here, I'll tell them, for example, that Jack Ham and I will have all this information, but we probably use 5% of what we garner, but the 5% changes every game. So you don't know which 5% it's going to be. Right.
It's like having this big basket, and one game you might take the apples out of the basket, one game you might take the oranges. But I always kind of feel like I've had a really good game when I didn't use any of my kind of pre-planned material because I was able to quickly react on the spot and provide good information right then. I'll give you one example. Last year in the national championship game, I was doing radio for Sidelines. And Joe Burrow took a big hit right before the half, and he came limping off, and he wasn't okay, and he couldn't catch his breath. And I was standing right next to them, and I could hear him say, I can't catch my breath, I can't. And he was really bothered with his sternum and his ribs. And I'm like, well, if Joe Burrow goes down in the first half of this game, that's not good. So I really made a point to be there when he ran back out from halftime. He came out early and tried some throwing to see if he was okay and he could twist and turn. And so these are all just kind of things that you're observing and are happening on the fly that are important to the broadcast.
There's also that moment where Dan Schulman and Jay Billis, suddenly they can't see anything. Nobody can hear them. And you had to fill in on play-by-play. So what was that experience? I mean, I'm sure somebody said, I'm sure you probably heard the words, Holly, do something.
Yes, exactly. It was about 10 to 20 seconds of sheer terror because, you don't know what's really happening, and your producer just says, take it, Jay and Dan are down. They can't go, and you just jump in. But what's super cool about that story to me is over 20 years ago, that happened to Michelle Tafoya. So, I'm this young up-and-coming sideline reporter, and I'm looking up at the women who are already doing my job as mentors and people to look up to. And Michelle was doing a game where Sean McDonough got ill and couldn't continue the broadcast. And so Michelle had to jump in and do play-by-play. And I read that story, and I remember thinking, wow, I better prepare my game boards as if I might have to do that someday. And so from that moment on, over 20 years ago, I have prepared a game board just like a play-by-play guy would for both football, basketball, softball. Like every sport I do, I have this big chart, much like you probably use for your games, so that anything were to go wrong. And what's funny is now I just prepare that way, so it's nothing extra in my work effort because I'm just used to doing it like that. But it finally paid off after 20 years. And so they go down. I have to do play-by-play. So it happens one time in the one game, and we think we've got it all sorted out. And my heart's racing, and I'm like, okay, I probably did okay. But, that wasn't great, but I probably did okay. And then we were coming back from halftime of our second game that night. And literally the producer's counting down from halftime, 10, 9, and at 8, he says, Holly, they're gone. You've got to come back with this sponsor read, come back with this sponsor read, and then give the star to eat. And so I had 8 seconds to prepare to bring us back from break at the half and do play-by-play for another 3 or 4 minutes. And it was crazy.
You by the way, I saw when Schulman and Billis done, you were terrific. You really did.
Thank you.
Okay, not a good job. You did a great job.
Thank you.
You also have done along the way, part of the assignments have been the Women's Final Four and so forth. How gratified have you been by the growth of women's basketball over the last couple of decades?
Oh, my gosh. It's just so amazing. So way, way, way back in my beginning of my career, one of my very first assignments in the women's tournament was I did a first and second round when Remy Portland was the coach and Helen Darling was the point guard. Yep. And they were playing at Louisiana Tech, where Leon Barmore was still coaching for Louisiana Tech, and that program was one of the powerhouses in America. And so, I go way back with the women's tournament, and I just love how it's grown. It's mainstream now. I mean, I think Arike Agumbawale's shots a couple of years ago with Kobe, tweeting at her.
Right.
I think that was, she won an ESPY for that. I think that was maybe a watershed moment I think a lot of people watched before, but that became like mainstream, right? Where it's like, ESPN's talking about it on SportsCenter, and guys are tweeting about it. And so I just feel like the women's game continues to grow. I know our WNBA ratings from this year in the WNBA bubble, our ratings were up in a year where every other sports rating is down. And so that was really cool.
Yeah, that's terrific. It shows the tremendous progress that's been made, because I think in part the college game has now done a great job of establishing, quote, stars who then go to the pro game. So they're going into the pro game already with people familiar with who they are. Do you feel that way as well?
Totally. I think, number one, their games are better. I think we have individual stars because of how good their individual games are.
Right.
And then you've got these platforms where college sports is a marketing machine. I just did an interview yesterday with a young man named Cade Cunningham.
Oh,
now,
yeah.
You guys remember his name. He will likely be the number one pick in the NBA draft.
Yep.
And
Oklahoma State, his brother's on the staff, I believe, yeah.
Yep. And he had to make a decision this summer because with COVID, and then Oklahoma State has an NCAA issue that they're appealing right now. He had to make a decision. Do I go pro and go overseas somewhere till the draft, or do I go that new G League route where he can make, around $500,000, although that's kind of fallen apart with COVID,
right.
Or do I go play 1 year of college basketball? And he and I talked about it. He's like, I am so grateful I'm playing college basketball. There's nothing like it. I'm having the time of my life, and my name will be remembered forever with Oklahoma State, and I love that. And so it just made me realize what a marketing machine college teams and brands are. Yep. And so now you have someone come out of UConn. You have someone come out of Penn State. You have someone come out of Texas A&M. They're branded in such a way and have had such a marketing platform that they can jump into stardom very quickly.
On Wednesday, you'll have an opportunity to be the guest speaker at this virtual brunch for the Pink Zone. So obviously it's a cause that is very important to you. What is the base message that you want when you have an opportunity to talk to the great people that will be on here?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things I want to talk about. Is number one, early detection. I think that women, we tend to be the worst, and we take care of ourselves last in our families. We worry about everyone else and take care of everyone else first. And I guarantee there are women listening, and maybe even men listening, that you have that one thing that you need to get checked out, whether it's a small lump in your breast, or one of your lymph glands doesn't feel right, or you've got a spot on your skin, or whatever it is that you need to get checked and you've been procrastinating. I think I have found through my cancer journey that early detection would have saved me so much in my health. And so early detection is something I really want to get on people about, especially because throughout COVID, I think a lot of us aren't going to the doctors because we're scared. And so I really worry that we're going to have kind of this surge in cancer diagnosis after COVID is over. I'm very concerned about that. And then the other thing is resilience. I mean, cancer is a piece of our society. It's unfortunately something that's happening with our environment, and you may be diagnosed with cancer. So how can you be resilient? And I hope to share what I've learned and some of the things I've learned, too, about it's hard to ask for help. I'm someone who, I don't like to ask neighbors to help me carry something in the house, let alone take care of me when I'm ill. You know what I mean?
Right.
Of the days that you're not yourself and you're vulnerable, learning to be strong enough to ask for help.
I want to ask you one more question, but it's a broadcasting question because part of what I do here is I do teach a broadcasting class. Now, it doesn't matter, male, female. Holly Rowe is a great broadcaster. But there are a lot of young women in my class that look up to you. So what would you tell them if you had an opportunity to look at them about a couple of things that are important that they need to remember of trying to move through the ranks of what can be a tough business?
Yeah, I think number one, what I would tell them is be getting reps now in college. I think when I was in college, we did not have the internet and social media and digital media like it is now. And so I would have to wait to get hired by someone on a game. And with no experience and, no background, of course I'm not going to get hired. So I had to create my own opportunities. So I think now that young people, and particularly young women, develop content, have your own blog, have your own website, have your own YouTube channel, and then content is king. We are consuming so much content on our phones and websites every day that if you have and can find and tell good stories, you will be employed and be a great commodity to people. So content is king. Look for stories, be curious, find information, and then you curate that and put that out there, and people will want to hire you.
Well, you're incredible, and we really appreciate the fact that you're going to be doing this on the Pink Zone. Everyone around here really appreciates it, and Pro to Pro, I appreciate the great job that you do all the time.
Well, thank you, Steve. I made a little promise to God. If I made it through cancer, I was going to give back at every turn, and so I'm so excited to give back to Penn State and this Pink Zone game. I hope you'll all register and that help us raise money for cancer awareness and research.
Awesome. Holly, thank you so much, and all our best to you.
Thank you, Steve.
Holly Rowe, ESPN. King is next. Another big blockbuster hour. And don't forget, on Monday, I'll talk about the game. Matt will review the commercials, the pregame show, and also halftime.
We'll cover it all.
I'll take care of the game. Here on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Taking your calls at 800-795-9565. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now, from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Today's show brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day. And the Pickle Bar, led by the barrels and the dills, indeed second to none. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. They also have 6 great flavors of slushies. So stock up for the Super Bowl weekend now. Beat whatever snow is coming in. Do it now. We're on 1070 as you get in the car. And we're in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. And online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Lincoln, Kia, Hyundai, great new inventory, fabulous pre-owned inventory, great array of that, all with the Sunbury Motors guarantee. At Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury, Sunbury Motors Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. Ladies and gentlemen, it is that time of the week. The King. Maybe.
Hello?
There he is.
Be nice if I put your pot up. My bad.
If you would just stop thinking about the Super Bowl commercials, the pregame show, and the Puppy Bowl.
Hey, Puppy Bowl I don't do. I draw the line at the Puppy Bowl.
I'm really glad to hear you have standards.
Eating a baked potato. It's good. Hey, you know what I heard today? Are you there?
Well, yeah. I'm just listening.
Oh. Remember the Deflategate?
Yeah.
And how Brady, they said he cheated and all that? This is his 4th Super Bowl since then. And they watch everything he does. Right.
Well, I still to this day maintain that Deflategate, just on a personal opinion, I think the officials kind of botched it up, in my opinion, before the game and didn't check anything. And I think that the NFL covered up for him.
Yep, I agree. The whole thing was dumb,
and the NFL let it
6 years later, he's been in 4 Super Bowls. He can't cheat away that much,
They let it drag out. They let it drag out. They let it drag out. It was really about as poorly handled slice of absurdity as I've seen during the course of my career. I was like, you've got to be kidding me. And I always love when they do this And we interviewed 400 witnesses. How much is interview the 8 people you need to interview? Okay, really? I mean, for God's sakes.
Poor guy making minimum wage, blowing the balls up, gets screwed. So
yeah, I know. It's just, we interviewed 400 people. I don't care. Get rid of stop wasting time with the other 392. Just get to the 8 that matter. Right? You'd be amazed at how fast.
How many millions of dollars did they spend trying to get him?
I know.
Crazy.
It's
just. And then he just went on and said, "Fine, I don't care if you give me a tennis ball. I'm going to win the game." So
for goodness sakes, I mean, this is what people don't realize. You do know they changed the ball in the Super Bowl on every play.
Really? I didn't know that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. They have, I don't know, 140, 150 of them.
Why would they do that?
Because they take the ball then out of the game and they give it as a gift to the sponsors of the game.
Oh.
So all the sponsors get a game ball.
Well, it won't be Budweiser.
They may have to do that this year. Did you guys see the forecast for Tampa? Don't look good.
Really?
We might have a repeat of Super Bowl 41.
So who is that good for?
Nobody.
Well, no, it's fine for Matt because he only watches the commercials and the halftime show.
No, I hated that Super Bowl 41 when it rained. That stunk.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what,
though?
You
want an even playing field. You don't want to. I like the indoor ones, you know. Everyone's got the same advantage.
But the whole thing with this playing field thing, with Tampa being at home, I mean, even the turf is going to be different.
It doesn't matter.
I know. It doesn't matter.
I mean, Kansas City is still home right now as we speak. I mean, they're not leaving till tonight. They've spent the last 2 weeks at home.
I mean, are there likely going to be more Tampa fans there? Yeah, probably. But you know what? There's going to be 22,000, so who cares?
It's not going to be a big deal. No, it's not going to be a big deal.
Oh, there's a lot of people from all over the country, you know, that at least, 8,000 frontline workers, you know.
Sure.
Yes.
Yep.
From all over the country, not from Tampa. So that's a third of the people right there. So.
Mm-hmm. So I guess
it's going to be a fun game. It's going to be real fun. I just hope the weather is not a factor. So I don't know who that helps. You know, maybe Brady's got a little more experience playing in bad weather. I don't know, but we'll see. Well Brady's got more experience than anybody in any weather.
Kansas City's not in the banana belt, so I think Mahomes is fine. All right, so
Mahomes is so good. This is going to be a great football game. Kansas City's a better team. There's no question. But it's not. It's one game, you know. Like when the Giants played the Patriots, the one game. So we'll see.
They played again, and then they played again and won that one too. All right, so
no, I hate some people are just so. You know, if Brady loses this game, he'll be 6-4 in Super Bowls, and that really tarnishes it. You're like, oh, good Lord. The guy played 20 years in the NFL. He's in 10 Super Bowls. Who cares if he wins or loses? It doesn't tarnish his career. Some players never make it there at all. You know,
Otto Graham,
spent half his career he spent in the Super Bowl.
I think Otto Graham was in 10 straight championship games. He was 7-3. I think his legacy is fine. All right, so let's take a break, and then we've got lots of prop bets, courtesy of the suit who's in the back corner office writing this down because, you know, that last part where they insert gambling problem, call 1-800. Okay, you know, I'll come back with more in a moment on News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
All right, prop bet time.
Are you ready for this, boys?
All set.
I'm ready, but we're getting a half a foot of snow Sunday.
We're only getting 1 to 2 here, thankfully.
I'm done with winter. But, okay, I'm ready.
All right, so we're going to do the usual ones first. National Anthem. How long is it going to be? Jasmine Sullivan and Eric Church doing the National Anthem this year. King.
Anything but that guitar solo. I'm sitting there looking at Jimi Hendrix. National Anthem, I say, will be 2.5 minutes. 2 minutes, 31 seconds.
All right, Steve.
Never heard of this, people. I'll say over. It's their 15 minutes of fame. They're going to milk it.
So what's the exact amount?
You can always tell, by the way, when the first note is, oh no.
Can you imagine at the end if you have money on it?
Yeah.
And you hit it right on it, then the guy or girl starts like really harmonizing at the end. And you're shut up, man, stop.
I'll say 2:10.
2:10.
All right, I'm going to go 2:15 because it's a duet. They're probably going to have some harmonies in there. A lot's happened in the country, so I think they're going to drag this out too. But I'm always for one. Just stick to the melody, stick to the script, and you always do that justice. But I go 2:15.
I'm ready. Kick off.
I love Lady Gaga. Well,
yes,
of course, I love Lady Gaga.
She was spectacular. Yeah,
that
at
was
the inauguration.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
my God, it was good. Couldn't stand her dress, but she's only 5'2". So.
Oh, I didn't know that. All right. Next one, coin toss.
I got a game tonight. Let's go.
Is it going to be heads or tails, Steve? And what team's going to win the coin toss?
Tails, and Kansas City will defer.
All right, King.
I got heads, and Tampa Bay will take the ball.
I'm going to go tails. Tampa Bay defers.
All different.
I like it.
Could there be something different than we have?
Or it could be it was
Tampa Bay
when it was almost
tails.
botched when Joe Namath almost messed it up. Super Bowl 48. Remember that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Could be that way.
How about it's heads and Kansas City takes the ball? None of us got it right.
It's true. All right, so now these ones I kind of made up a little bit. These aren't the typical ones, but I thought they'd be funny. So the first one is just what we were talking about earlier with is there going to be a home field advantage for the Bucs? No. They settled this yesterday. They said they will not fire the cannons that they traditionally do at Raymond James Stadium every time that the Bucs score a touchdown, or every time the Bucs score, period. So my question to you guys is, how many times will the cannons fire? King.
Well, if they won't fire it when they score, 0.
Steve?
Once after the national anthem.
I think you're going to get it twice. Once right before kickoff and once post-game.
There you go.
There we go. All right, the next one. This is kind of a typical one. I should say that. What color is the Gatorade bath going to be for the winning head coach? Steve.
Mauve.
I like it.
I don't know. I'll go with orange. I really don't care. Like,
I'm just
trying to keep myself mentally in this segment. Go ahead.
I'm going with orange too because that is, if I remember correctly, I think that was the type of Gatorade that Andy Reid got dunked with last year. Really? So I think the Chiefs are going to stick with that superstition and use it again. So I'm going to go orange as well. King.
I'm going with the regular Gatorade lime.
Lime, okay. I like it.
Yeah, the regular Gatorade.
Of
color.
course, yes.
Yeah. So, is it like yellowish lime?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see that. Yeah, the original Gators stuff. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Next one now. Of course, the number one storyline in the Super Bowl are the quarterbacks. So my question is, how many times or how many stories are there going to be? How many segments are there going to be with Mahomes versus Brady in the CBS pregame show? King.
7.
Steve. None. No, I'm just, just kidding. I don't know. 4. I'm not even going to watch.
I'm going to go 5.
I gotta watch. I got to shovel snow. Go ahead.
The pregame show? I don't watch the pregame show. Cut me a break.
Yes, we've been through this already.
Yeah.
Steve's solely on the game.
I haven't watched the pregame
show.
No. He's getting pizza during the halftime show.
Exactly.
I can't wait for the halftime show. I live for it.
I got to look at the weekend's picture when I walk into my broadcast booth in 90 minutes. I do. It's the big picture of him right outside the broadcast booth.
There you go. All right. This next one is actually kind of atypical here and there.
Well, how many did you have, Matt?
I have 5.
5, okay.
For Brady Mahomes stories in the pregame. This next one is common, actually. How many marriage proposals by players are we going to see post-game of the winning team, of course? King.
Oh, boy. Kansas City has a lot of domestic problems, so I think none over there. I think you might see Gronk propose to his girl. So I'm going to say 1 Tampa Bay, 0 on Kansas City.
Okay. Steve?
Is I don't care an option?
No.
Okay, 0.
0.
0.
I'm going to go with 1 because there's always that guy. I'll just go with 1. I don't know who, but I'm going to go 1. I'll stick with it.
Got to be Gronk, I'm telling you.
Wiggins has scored 18 Wiggins has scored 18 or better in 3 of its last 5.
It gets really weird after that. So
well, I know it's not going to be Pat Mahomes because he's already engaged. He got engaged the night of the Chiefs' ring ceremony last year. Everybody saw that famous social media picture with the 2 rings. Yep. Yeah, there you go.
It's a special day.
Yes. All right.
How many people will wear a mask in the stadium?
You know what? I didn't think of that. That was a good one.
Yeah.
But I don't have that written down officially.
Put it that way.
Hopefully it's everybody. Yeah.
Well, they're supposedly going to kick them out if they don't. So.
No, there you go. All right, so this next one I think is one of my favorites. Now, you guys are familiar that sometimes Tony Romo, when he gets excited from like a big moment in a game, ever since he started with Jim Nantz, he'll go, "Here we go, Jim." How many times is Tony Romo going to say, "Here we go, Jim"? Steve.
Again, is I don't care an option? Okay, I'll go with 2.
I'm going to go with 2 as well. Once right before kickoff and once before like a big play in the 4th quarter. King.
4.
4. Okay. I like it.
He's going to do it for the halftime show.
That's good. That's good.
Here we go, Jim. Let's get out of here.
All right. Final one before we actually get to the game picks. This is a 2-part question. If the Chiefs win, how many cheeseburgers is Andy Reid going to eat post-game? Let's start with that first. King.
How will we know? Well,
that's a good question.
My God.
Okay, hamburgers. Or how many will he eat? 5.
5. I'm going to go 3. Steve.
I'm stunned.
Think it out.
2,
break it down.
2.
Okay.
Yeah. Whatever. I just will act like Andy's a normal guy.
Now, if Bruce
Arians... How many are you going to have, 2?
Yeah, he has 2.
2.
I have 3. All right. Then the final one is, if Tampa Bay wins, Bruce Arians is known to like his scotch on the rocks. So how many shots of scotch is he going to have post-game if Tampa Bay wins? Steve.
8.
I'm going to go 6. King.
I say 3 before the game.
Oh, my.
And 6 after 9.
How many during the game? No.
That's what they're bumping over his head if they win.
Yeah, I mean now it's going to sound like now it's going to sound like the Shikellamy broadcast.
Oh no!
All right, so,
all right, and finally, game pick, final score, MVP, Steve.
Kansas City, 37-31. MVP, Patrick Mahomes, and Will Levis is going to Kentucky.
All right. There we go.
Thought I'd slip that in there for you.
King.
28-24, TB12, TB12.
Okay. I am going to go 31-21 Kansas City. And I am going to go with Mahomes as well as my MVP. So there you have it.
Got it.
Lock them in.
Locked in. TV12.
All right, well, I'm back in 90 minutes.
Did you enjoy that, Steve?
Game tonight?
Yeah, I have a game tonight. Maryland.
How's the team doing?
Right now, 6-8, but 33 in the net. So if they can win a couple of games, they might put themselves in position here. They've won 3 of their last 5. Won 3 of their last 5.
It's so tough for these kids to play. It's really hard. Well, you know,
they are across the board. I give them a lot of credit. I know UConn's been struggling to play.
Credit. Every college sport, I give them credit. This is very difficult. You can't get in any rhythm. You know, it's just very difficult. But
well, I'll enjoy the game. You guys enjoy all the other stuff.
Enjoy the game, boys. Oh, we will.
Everyone stay safe.
Remember, there is also a game. When it comes to car buying, there's the other guy's way, and then there's the SMC way. The other guys force you into a vehicle you really don't want. The Sunbury Motors way lets you take the time you need to browse, ask questions, and take the test drive and think on it. For over 100 years, the Mertz family and all their employees have made your experience the most pleasant one you'll ever have. The other guys won't offer you the best price for your trade, no matter how much they say they will. The SMC way is their promise to provide you with the most money the market shows your vehicle is worth. The SMC way is to offer you all applicable factory rebates on new vehicles and generous discounts. Looking for a pre-owned vehicle? The SMC way checks each vehicle in a 200-mile radius to determine the lowest price, then beat it. It's the lowest price promise, just part of the SMC way. The choice is up to you. The other guy's way or the SMC way. The SMC way wins every time. Sunbury Motors Company in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and at sunburymotors.com. Selling more cars and satisfying more customers for over 100 years.